Call to order Public Hospital District Number 4, King County Board of Commissioners meeting. It is Thursday, May 9th, 2019. It's about 6:39, we're a few minutes late. Shall we stand for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Norris?
Here.
Vice President Herron?
Here.
Secretary Spikers?
Here.
And Commissioner Hall?
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
And the motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, communications, and I'm first on those for that. Dr. Whitcott, myself, and Emma Herron, we went to a safety conference that was very interesting. And it was about the opioid crisis. It had to do with physicians over medicating by high prescriptions. It was from two different views, which was very interesting. It was from a psychologist with a PhD who broke his foot and his experience trying to get help when he had pain initially after setting his foot. He got a prescription and he started taking his oxycodone. And then he found himself not getting enough of it. He stopped taking it thinking it better, and then he started taking too much of it. And he talked about the withdrawal that he went through and what it was like. This is all under physician authorization. And the other person that talked about it, he was a criminal, what do I want to say? He was a newspaper writer for, wasn't it? Yeah, crime writer. So, but he got into it as far as investigating, because he was in finding out about illegal dealings with drugs. He found out that there was a certain company that had the most control over the substance and wanted it to be used. And it was educational, it was informative from two different perspectives. One, the illegal perspective and what happens, and also who's getting rich off of it. And the other from a individual, well-educated person. Both these men wrote books, and they were very different views. And I found it very interesting. I don't know, do you want to say
I
anything
think
about
that, yeah, he was a research scientist. I think the takeaway here from listening to the first speaker, Mr. Real, whatever,
Yeah.
is that not everyone that is prescribed an opioid or medicine becomes addicted. Because he had difficulty about that, because they were looking at him like, you're okay, you're right not to wake up. So that's my takeaway, that not everybody becomes addicted to it. There is a way, there's a process. There's that before you don't just win them away, the withdrawal has to be controlled. Otherwise they will have a different reaction to that. And he did, yeah, but he was, yeah.
You want to say anything about it? Okay. I will say,
Are you going to entertain questions?
yeah, first let me tell you the names. The first person was Travis Ryder, and he was the writer and the psychologist. Let me read what it says. Travis illustrates the patient's experience with pain, opioid dependency, and agonizing withdrawal. His experience prompted his research at Johns Hopkins Berman Institute of Bioethics and subsequent publication on opioid dilemma between the over-prescribing of opioids and the undertreatment of pain. The other individual is Sam Quinones. Did I say that? Quinones.
I guess he's Italian.
And his book is The True Tale of America's Opioid Epidemic. Sam explores the story of our nation's national epidemic with opiate addiction and how we got here to help us better understand the factors contributing to the opioid addiction, described how the culture and social isolation and destruction of community contribute to the epidemic, and learned from encouraging and invigorating examples of responses by community groups that successfully came together to fight the epidemic. It was a very good conference, and I enjoyed it and found it informative. Commissioner Paul.
What did you learn from the standpoint of a board member who might want to propose policies, et cetera, that we can use at the hospital to contribute to the challenge of the opioid epidemic? What can we use in this hospital that you learned from your experience at this training session?
I think for me, I know that there's opioids in our high schools. I know that there are kids on the trails. I know that we have an encampment at High Point where they have to control it. It's one of the 10 cities. But I also understand it's not easy. It's one individual, even if you don't want to get addicted, can get addicted. And another individual will be able to just walk away from it. And so it's not an easy one shoe fits all in my room.
My question, excuse me, go ahead,
No, go
and
ahead.
if you want to respond.
Yeah, the other takeaway for me here, I think one must really understand or assess the patient and give more personalized feel to that patient, be more patient-centered. And just because I'm wanting more drug doesn't mean I'm faking it, because sometimes that's what people think. You're faking it, you just want more drugs. So I think really being client or patient-focused and understanding more personally on that level would,
Well, the things that you mentioned, President Norris, are things that the Community Health Coalition is also addressing. And but that's outside the hospital. I was thinking inside the hospital, maybe Kim can contribute to this. What are we doing to make sure that opiates are used where appropriate and to maybe the least amount appropriate and so forth, and that people don't get on the opiate abuse track by coming to our hospital?
And we've had work study sessions before. We talked about all the energies that we have going into managing opioid prescribing. And so we do a lot. We have limits on the amount that can be prescribed for first-time prescriptions. We completely adhere to the state recommendations for pediatric and adult for new prescribers. We also have continuous monitoring going on. So we have both internal monitoring as part of the dashboards that our providers get on a monthly basis. Is there prescribing, and are they doing it within compliance? And compliance for us is anybody who is on chronic opioids, they must be under contract. There's a limit to the amount of prescribing that you can do, monthly amounts. There's also guidelines that say in the contract that talk about behaviors that both sides are agreeing to, and if there's violation of that, we do honor the contract, which means no violation, we will stop prescribing opioids. So there's no opportunity for lost prescriptions, there's no opportunity for giving your meds to somebody else, there's no opportunity for other illegal substances to be consumed along with the controlled substance. All of those will lose your access in our system to controlled substances. Not your access to care, but your access to controlled substances.
And as far as doctor shopping and so forth, there's some way to control that too, isn't there?
And so we adhere to the standard, which is anytime you're going to prescribe an opioid, they check the PMP, that's the state site that identifies any prescriptions that have been filled or under that person's name. When they were filled, what was filled, and for how much. So that is, the standard says you do that when you start a prescription or when you change the prescription. Our standard is anytime you write a prescription.
You know, they keep coming out with more and more powerful opioids and similar pain remedies. You know that I can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure you know about this new drug that's coming out of China, which it's 100 times more powerful than morphine. No, it's not fentanyl. It's another thing that I can send you something. But anyway, as soon as we get a handle on one or two of these drugs, then fentanyl comes along, and then this new drug is 100 times more powerful than other opioids. So anyway, okay, it sounds like it was a good session. It was very good that you went there.
Anything else to say about it? Okay. But you're next on the list. Jill?
All right. Report is in your packet. In your packets on the left-hand side, you'll find a picture of Joan. And so there will be a message of appreciation for Joan for her many years of service, and that's going to be printed in tomorrow's edition of the newspaper. It's going on our website, it's going on our social media posts, and then there's a luncheon. An honor that's being coordinated, so we don't have that set yet, but it's going to be coordinated. So those are all the things that we're doing, and as well as publicizing the journal. Make sure that came to your attention. I also want to particularly say an appreciation to Scott Scowcroft. So thank you, Scott. Last month, he was our videographer, filled in for us, and graciously he donated his service to us. So just want to make sure that you all knew that. He did that. Just a note, we are continuously looking for opportunities to be present in our local community, being able to be out in them, in the midst of what's going on. And then, as you know, summertime becomes that opportunity to really be out there, and it concentrates all the events. And just a review for you of all the things that we're scheduled to participate in. We're going to be in the Snoqualmie Valley Block Party. We're going to be part of the Issaquah Sports Medicine Combine, part of the Echo Glen Health Fair. And then we'll also be providing first aid services at the Snoqualmie Ridge HOA July 4th Family Celebration. That's the daytime event. And then the Red, White, and Blue firework event that night. And then we also have a Relay for Life, the Snoqualmie Valley Relay for Life, and Doggy Stock. We are keeping ourselves very occupied. There are some other events that are coming up that we just don't have details on, and I'm not certain that we're going to have the bandwidth to commit to more. But we'll take a look at it. On May 18th, just a couple weeks from now, we are going to be the host for a conference. It's called Refresh and Revive, and that is for SAIL trainers in the Western Washington area. So SAIL is Staying Active and Independent for Life. So it's a very particular training program to maintain activity for those older than 22. Just leave it at that. So they've got some well-known speakers that are coming in, and then on July 20th, we'll also host another SAIL event, and that's a master symposium for trainers that's across the state. And so both of those will have a pretty significant contingent of people coming in. We're very in touch with the geriatric population, so the 55 and older population across the state. And because we're the host, they always graciously give us time on the agenda so that we can speak about the things that we do in our local SAIL program, as well as the things that we do in our SREVED program. So great opportunity to get the message out. AWPHD has a special webcast on May 30th, and it's intended for board commissioner candidates that are signed up for the fall election. So I plan to invite candidates who maybe are not familiar with the role, so they can come and be oriented and just use this AWPHD webcast to do that on the 30th. And then to finish off, the most important part is this week is Healthcare Week celebration. So we have been spending this week recognizing our amazing team of individuals that work for us. Food we recognize as the thing that draws us all together, so there's been a lot of food over the course of the week. And then we also have done some other activities, and in fact, again, on the left side of your packet, I put the fun word search that we sent out, so that you can there you go, so that you can be included in what we're doing. And then just to also make you aware that tomorrow afternoon completes the week, and we're having a gelato bar for the staff. So at 2 o'clock in the East-West Conference Room. So if you show up somewhere between 2 and 3:30, you get your pick of, I think, 5 or 6 different gelato flavors. So, you through for that. So any questions?
A question regarding the resignation of Joan Young, and that is, what was the official date of her resignation?
April 11th.
April 11th? Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Rico? We will go on. Now we get to hear from legal counsel.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam President and board members. At the last presentation, we had talked to you about your rules and how they need to be followed, but we also used the term custom. And I looked and searched and only found one reference to custom in Robert's Rules of Order, but it's a very important reference. So first I want to understand what custom was. Custom, according to Webster's Dictionary, is a long-established practice considered as unwritten law. Well, that doesn't resonate with attorneys very well, that you would have an unwritten law. It either is a law or it isn't a law. But this is an unwritten law. It's a habit, a custom, a practice, or a usage. So Robert's Rules defines it and states, in some organizations, a particular practice may sometimes come to be followed as a matter of established custom, so that it's treated practically as if it were prescribed by a rule. This board does that from time to time. You allow friendly amendments. Robert's Rules of Order doesn't have a friendly amendment, but by custom you allow that, and you have discourse and discussion among yourselves. At other times you will start meetings late by custom, because you allow certain individuals to get here a little bit later from time to time because of a hockey commitment. That's a custom. And that's a custom that is an unwritten rule from time to time. And so Roberts goes on to say, if there is no contrary provision in the parliamentary authority or written rules, the established custom should be adhered to, unless the Assembly, by a majority vote, agrees in a particular instance to do otherwise. However, if the customary practice becomes in conflict with parliamentary authority or written rule, you would raise a point of order citing the conflict. The custom falls to the ground. I've never heard Robert write that. Anyway, it's pretty graphic. The custom is now going to fall to the ground, and the conflicting provision in the parliamentary authority or written rule must thereafter be complied with. If it is then desired to follow the former practice, a special rule of order for an appropriate circumstance, a standing rule or a bylaw can be amended to incorporate it. And you, in fact, did that. You did that after 7 months with Commissioner Herron and Commissioner Young, and I and the former CEO. We have now rules of procedure because we've done what Robert suggested, is come up with standing rules. So that's your comment for this evening on Robert's Rules.
Thank you.
Well, just a comment that this definition of custom, maybe we should put that in the bylaws the next time. Yeah, revise it.
We might have to, that's
Because,
right.
It's customary, right?
I mean, if we're having friendly discussions about a very pertinent matter, and it's out of the order of our procedural rules,
Right.
I still think that's okay.
And it is
It's
okay,
custom.
you've done that, unless somebody objects and says, wait a minute, we need to have a motion before we start this discussion. And unless there's an objection, you can continue to do that, and that is custom, and that has been your practice.
Anything else? And we will move on to our consent agenda. I need approval. Do we have a consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go on to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? There is none, so that passes. Committee reports. Now, this is interesting. David, you're on first.
All right, that is the first.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. We met April 30th, and that was about 10 days ago. And our volumes were about at, look at my notes here, about at the levels that we budgeted for. There's some good comments and some off comments, I guess, that I'm going to make. If you look at the charts, everyone has these charts, the blue imaging, endo, and clinics, rehab. there's some pretty hopeful and positive things about those charts. The clinics are about at what we budgeted, but the biggest imaging is above. Endoscopy is below. That's normally an elective procedure later in the year that happens to fulfill the deductible, so that is normal. The outpatient rehab is, for the second month now, is up about what we budgeted. And we don't know why, but I may about twice a year or every 3 months send out a request on my listserv of the trial attorneys and tell them about, because we accept outpatient Medicaid insurance, and we actually do fairly well with that. And a lot of organizations don't accept Medicaid patients on outpatient rehab, imaging, and so forth, especially on rehabilitation. They don't even want to accept something. It's amazing. So I'm going to continue. I don't know if that was it. We don't know, but I'm going to send out another blurb to the list and let them know about every 3 months that they have an organization that they can clearly and without a doubt be able to send somebody over here for excellent care. So I'm very happy about that. Maybe that's not it, but if it's not affecting in a negative way, I'm going to continue to do it. So
Doesn't hurt.
So anyway, emergency, we're doing pretty well in emergency. We're doing pretty well as our figures here. And if you recall, February was just a shutdown month. We were out, I think we were 10 days. The clinics were shut down for 10 days, pretty close.
Yeah, they were.
And
It's a short month. It's a short month.
yeah, and it is a short month. So we're kind of reeling in the aftermath the following month. It carries over the following month, pretty much like clockwork. And so that is part of the reason some of the figures aren't what we think. I'm looking, look specifically at things that kind of raise red flags, like salaries and other, and supplies, these kinds of things. And I did get some quick answers from staff. We had wish-a-doos of $30,000. We normally budget about $2,500 a month. We just do it monthly on the budget, but we have to pay it all in 1 month. So that's why there's $30,000 instead of $2,500 on that particular expense. Supplies, we were above supplies for.
I've got new, there was a glitch in our supply system that caused that variance. So it will be fixed next year.
Remember, I had question marks behind it.
Yeah. Now, there was a glitch in our system, and our materials manager and informatics staff researched it, convinced me that, yeah, it was a glitch, and we'll be correcting it this next month.
So we'll have to see a positive trend next month.
Yeah, there'll be a better trend next month.
That's good. Employee benefits, we had a lot of PTO bookings in March. Paid time off, that's what PTO stands for. And there were, yeah, and then, family leave, that kind of thing. And then that is a state statute and the law, by the way, we have to provide family leave for immediate family members. So we take care of them. Training costs, salaries, we had some overages in the training costs for the month. So keep in mind, we do get reimbursed at 89%, and for our Medicare. If you look at our Medicare, Medicaid day, inpatient days, We're up a little bit on Medicaid this month, or commercial, I should say. Commercial doesn't pay as much as Medicare. We still had a positive net bottom line for the month, but we were about 35,000 less than what we should have probably had. The things I was explaining probably would be, pretty much explanations for that. So I do want to circle something. I want to point this out because it is dramatic. I don't know if you folks have this or not. The net patient service revenue relating to cash and AR, accounts receivable. So we went from 2.414 million to over 3 million from February to March. So that was a significant increase. And explain again why that was, because I'm sure that's.
Well, we had a very good revenue, net revenue. And then what I explained to the finance committee is, when that happens, your days in AR, your uncollected revenue actually goes up because it takes us 50 days to collect our revenue. And so that revenue that we book is uncollected. And you'll see those days, accounts receivable go down, cash will go up next month.
So next month, we're going to have collected revenue.
Yes.
So anyway, that was the positive bottom line.
It seems counterintuitive, but it's right.
So, anyway, that's kind of the things that then I think we were recommending. We went through
Delegation.
yes.
Yeah.
We went through that and we are recommending the staff's recommendation on that. And I think we'll probably talk a little bit more about that at some point. Is that right? We have a little time for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll talk about that. Other than that, are there specific questions to the financial matters that we discussed?
You say something about
When we get June, we get cost-based reimbursed for the Medicare patient, 99% of the cost.
Right.
But if you look at our biggest unit, is well above 80% in the swing bed, which is our biggest unit, because we have a very large mix, about 94% or 95% of patients in swing bed are Medicare patients. And so our biggest unit is almost, really close to almost cost-based reimbursed.
Well, shouldn't that be at like 99%?
No, we have a few
There's some commercial, some
we have some
Medicaid.
commercial and some Medicaid, so it's not 100% of those patients. 100% of those patients are not Medicare.
So we're at
about 90%.
I think what you're saying is 89% is the average about what we.
But our cost-based
for our-
generally goes.
When you take into account Medicare and other
Yes.
patients with private pay and so forth.
Just
Okay.
wanted to point that out so that people understand this is not a moneymaker, but it does bring in
Okay. Good,
steady case.
steady.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for finance committee? Commissioner Cyphers, are you going to call for the warrants?
I will, at this time, I make a motion to allow cash disbursements in the amount of $3,059,910.13, and that includes payroll warrants, hospital and clinic payroll, all deposits, hospital and clinic payroll tax, hospital and clinic retirement plans and matching plans, as well as accounts payable warrants and warrants.
Okay, I made a motion that we approve the.
I think I did, but
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
waiting for a
Okay,
second.
a second, I'm sorry.
All right, that's
A
okay.
second.
All right.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, roll call vote, please.
President Norris?
Yes.
Vice President Herron?
Yes?
Secretary Spikers?
Yes.
Commissioner Pollard?
No.
Madam President, does the matter pass?
Passes.
On page 3.
I don't sign until I do it.
The motion passes. Next, we have medical committee.
Okay, let's start with the hospital. The medical committee met Tuesday, May 7th, which is a couple days ago. System-wide Healthcare Week celebrations, which is being celebrated this week, and Dr. Rick Cup gave us a lot of information on that. It's focused on honoring our staff with various food treats and messages of appreciation. The influenza protection season has concluded, and there is a new multidisciplinary work group that will address workplace harm prevention that's being launched to not only update our assessment of the risks of the physical harms our staff confront, but also the non-physical harms they experience. Is our culture too tolerant, not tolerant enough? Staff equipped with adequate tools to recognize and set boundaries? Do we have clearly delineated processes for addressing boundary violations? These are the questions that are going to be addressed by the new group that is going to be launched here soon. I don't have the date yet. On our inpatient swing, as you can tell, average daily census, the budget is 22.8. It dropped a little in April last month, 22.1, and the year-to-date was up again a little bit. Currently, what the executive team and Dr. Whitcup is they're analyzing the current reasons for outside appointments for swing bed patients to identify those services which you should consider bringing into the facility, which we should consider. So some of the things I think that one of the reasons that is in the area of wound care and infection, something that they are considering to look at. The emergency visit volumes, again, the budget's 10.8. Last month it dropped to 8.9, but average for the year as of April is 11.0. It's pretty good. It's at least gone back up to that. And the Sound Medical Laboratory Services collaboration, it will be launched in June. In later phases of process assigned that's the implementation period that we are anticipated to start mid-June, which will help bring laboratory samples from regional private clinics for processing in our lab. As when we were on our study, one of the big largest volume on our outpatient services that serves the PSA, and we can tell the lab test is one of the biggest number that captured that. I was wondering whether that has to do with our relationship with the previous Sound Medical Laboratory person in the past.
No.
No? Okay.
That relationship.
Because that was pretty good. I think that number is really high.
Yeah,
On
that's what's happening in our PSA.
Okay.
Display there.
Okay. Now, in the clinics, annual conference was held on April 30th for team building. This is the staff, the medical staff, the clinic staff, and to establish goals for this next year. Summary report is still being constructed. Sleep medicine service, that's another area that waiting approval from DOH. Receive for space modifications, or no, we have been approved for that, I'm sorry. The American Sleep Med Society certification in process, equipment installs scheduled is in mid-June. Contracting with sleep med physician to provide consultations, and medical director service. We anticipate to launch it in late June. Let me just say a few words about physician credentialing, because I know in the past we've been wanting in your packet, there's also physician bio data or credentialing profile for your reading pleasure.
That's just the viewers.
Yeah.
That's just the.
Oh, no, not, oh, okay, sorry, I thought you gave us something. Oops, okay. So if you have any questions about the credentialing, please feel free to just, I'll be happy to share this with you. Okay, and then of course, Dr. Whitcup already talked about Refresh and Revive for sale trainers on May 18th. And this June we're going, we did attend it, I'm sorry, 2019 CEO Trustee Safety Summit that Commissioner, our President Norris have summarized that particular summit that we attended. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Commissioner Herron? Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Pollard.
Well, I just first heard about this sleep center business last month. And I found that somehow improper because it was never brought to the board of shall we establish a sleep medicine center here at this hospital. If we were going to go into obstetrics or various other cancer care, whatever, I think it'd come to the board. We would discuss that as a policy issue. But this is a totally staff-produced issue. And this is, last month was the first that the board heard about it. I raised briefly the question last month, and I was told, I pointed out that Swedish at Issaquah closed their sleep medicine center, although they have one full-time sleep medicine doctor with really good credentials, and one half-time. So they're there, the doctors can be there, but they don't have a sleep medicine center at Swedish. And I think you told me, Dr. Whitcup, that they have one at Factoria, and that's not true, they don't. The only ones, they have about 6 or 7 hospitals. They have sleep centers in Edmond, Seattle, and Redmond, but not Factoria or the other hospitals. So you don't need to have these at all the hospitals. But based on the experience of Swedish Issaquah, I think at least it should have been a topic for discussion as a policy matter for the board before the staff went ahead and contacted the Department of Health and got approval of space modification and all these other things that have happened. I think that's staff work, but it should have come to the board as a policy matter at the very beginning, perhaps with some financial studies and demonstrations of need. I really question whether there's a need for a sleep study here if it wasn't successful at Swedish Issaquah. At any rate, I'm just very uncomfortable about how that sleep study.
I think having this sleep medicine service is an operational decision.
It's a contract.
I know, but it is something that I think we as a board do not get involved in the operational and who determines what is good in terms of adding service that is necessary for our patients here.
No, I agree, but the board's role is a policy matter. Shall we have a sleep center? Once we agree to have a sleep center, then it's the staff's role to find resources and get the waivers and approvals and so forth. But I think it should have been brought to the board at the first instance as a policy matter.
Yeah, I agree in some parts of that, but still, we don't get involved in how many patients have sleep problem, because that's operational. That is something that the medical executive staff would have that information. We don't, otherwise that we are injecting ourselves into the operations of it.
May I add a comment? I think it is something that
that is the executive decisions to be made, and I think we should be made aware of what the expenses are to get it up and get it going. I trust that they have good rationale for why they think it needs to be done. And if we don't, I don't know where their nearest one is, if it's Swedish or whether it's Overlake or
It's
where.
Overlake is the closest. Evergreen has one. Valley Medical Center has one. But
Maybe the issue of being the closest might have been an adequate issue, depending, I don't know the distances. but-
I'll send you some information because what they're doing now is they're moving to at-home sleep studies. There are cases where the person has a serious medical problem and the sleep study has to be done in the hospital. But more and more, they're sending people home with machines.
Apparatus.
And an apparatus, and they're doing these sleep studies at home. So for those that feel like, travel and so forth, this is even closer to home, let's say, where they can take the device home. I'll send you some information from the Cleveland hospital that's using this system.
I got a quick comment. I think we did discuss this in pretty good detail, and I even asked Dr. Wyckoff, I said, so what's the cost? And she said, I believe she said about 10,000, somewhere around there, or less. And I said, well, geez, what's the ROI? It is an outpatient service. And if it's a Medicaid payment or commercial, we're in pretty good shape with that. So that's my rationale was when I heard that, I said, well, I guess there's really no red flag to the financial part of that. So that as far as the due diligence in asking those kinds of questions from a financial background, at least were made last month.
So we presented a report to the finance committee, and they presented the indications to that.
It did go through proper channels. But thank you for your input, Commissioner Pollard.
Well,
Are there any other questions for medical committee?
at some time, could we, again, find out what this is costing, or there's any demonstration of need, or those kinds of things that usually goes into planning for a decision like this. As I say, I consider it a policy matter, not an administrative matter. So, at any rate, I'll send you some information.
I had 2 referrals for the sleep study in the last few months, and one was immediate, and one was a couple months ago already. So I know that there is other attorneys that have clients with TBI issues that are
Just to sleep.
So it's a very, with respect to TBI issues, it's an upcoming science, and they're just getting the real science and knowledge about the effects of TBI and post-concussive syndrome. And, there's a large percentage of people that go through that end up with a sleep problem. And it's, all related to, the trauma and something we didn't know anything about 20 years ago. There was nothing, no one even knew that the symptoms were related to that trauma. So,
I did a sleep study at Harvard U about 10 years ago, and I've been getting care from Swedish Issaquah, from this doctor I mentioned. So I'm familiar with the process, and I've done it. So now they recommended every periodic to do another sleep study, and they recommended that to me. I would be willing to take home one of the devices, so not looking for an overnight sleep study. That's very important. And the one thing I want to make sure is, since we have this special advantage of 100% cost basis, is it 100 or 101% now? Or
99.
99%. Right now, if a person goes to any of these other hospitals, the cost of a sleep study is about $1,000. And I just want to make sure that we're not going to exploit the advantage we have of 99% cost-based reimbursement where the actual cost to the medical system is maybe several times $1,000 because of that advantage that we have. You see what I'm saying?
It probably wouldn't be Medicare related, more likely than not. You probably, most of the people, I would think, that are having sleep study will know before they're 65 if they're having problems sleeping, or maybe not, but I
It's
mean,
outpatient, so it's not cost-based reimbursement.
yeah, so.
Oh, I see.
It's not cost-based.
We don't get that cost-based reimbursement on any outpatient.
It's fee schedule.
I believe in that.
Well, when they do an overnight sleep study, that's got to be inpatient, it seems to me. Anyway, thank you.
No, it's outpatient.
And I just want to make it comment, I believe that the decision that was made by the executive team, I don't think they'll make a decision to have a sleep center if the need is not there, that they have did their due diligence to make sure that it is a necessary service to provide to our constituents. That we already have two that you know of, that so I think that, you do the right thing.
Trust but verify.
Okay, let's move along. Next on the agenda is Facilities Committee.
Are there any other questions for medical committee before I do too fast?
Hearing them, then I will go on to Facilities. Facilities meeting was rescheduled to April 22nd, this last month. We had more discussion about the East Campus fire update related to the insurance claim. We're receiving about $22,000 for the loss of the building and equipment, and just under $1,000 will be included in the insurance settlement for debris cleanup. However, we can file for additional cleanup costs if it costs more. Construction punch list. This is a leftover item. It's a very old item that Scott is trying to get taken care of. We have approximately 36 items that remain on the list that need to be completed. And those items, 12 can be done internally by staff. However, contractors will need to be hired for the remaining 24 items. And bids will be requested for landscape work, concrete, general work, and it is anticipated that the items be done internally will be completed within the next 2 weeks. Let's see. Reflective sign. The reflective sign that was there is no longer there. We are getting we are looking for bids for a different light mount on the monument sign on the parkway. The cost is approximately $350, and the breaker on the existing light has been turned off until a new light is installed. We continue to make the hospital a gathering place. You have in the back of your information who's using it. The young ladies were trying to get in there while we were eating.
Yeah, we
For
just
their
got
meeting.
kicked. We just got kicked out of our other meeting by the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, by the Girl Scouts.
You have to become
New business, the clinic procedure room. They had a roof leak, I believe, on the ridge, and the building had failed points that resulted in water damage in one of the exam rooms. There were storage cabinets that were damaged and had to be removed. Repair is the responsibility of the landowner, so we don't have to worry about it. And on inspection, there was no mold or permanent moisture that was left there. Day room temperature, that seems to be an ongoing project. In fact, it has no date at this time. The temperature is more stable right now, and Scott is going to a lot of effort trying to figure out how to make it cool when it's too hot, how to warm it up when it's too cold. But he's continuing to monitor to see what they can do to make it better. Fire monitoring on the East Campus. We have assigned a contract for expanded monitoring in all buildings located on the East Campus. And the intrusion alarm system will be expanded to include the fire detection and control. Since we have a fire, that's responsible. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, May 29th, 2019 at 8:30 in the East-West Conference Room. We adjourned at 3:30 p.m. Are there any questions for the facilities committee?
I just have a comment onto the construction punch list. I get,
Yeah.
I get a little upset when the city attorney sits on the
Scott is pretty frustrated.
application for 3 years. without doing anything, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
you've got these things to do, and you're gonna have to pay for them. We could have had these things paid for by,
the developer, person that built the building.
right. And is there any recourse on this?
Well, there's always two sides to the story, Secretary Spiker. They're suggesting that you had a punch list back in 2015 with all those items on it, they weren't completed then. Now we're 4 years later. They're asking why didn't they get completed in the last 4 years?
Is there a statute of limitation on those things?
No. Not if we want to get your occupancy permit. You have a temporary one now, but in order to get the full complete one, you've got to provide a bill of sale. In order to get a bill of sale, to transfer all the deeds and easements, we have to complete this punch list. So we're going to get through it, and the city is going to work with us there. But I guess you can point a lot of fingers as to where the ball got dropped, but it got dropped numerous times in numerous places.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the representation was everything was a go and all of the items were taken care of. That was my understanding back, 2015, 16, or 14, whatever it was, when we were looking at everything out.
Well, I think I remember that they came to the board, not long after we were here, that they knew that they had a punch list that they needed to do. And it just, I think it went off the radar because the city didn't keep following up. And when we asked, nobody said anything, so it just kind of got lost in the board, but not anymore. So Scott's aware of it, he's on that. Any, Steve?
It got dropped in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Steve.
No, we're good.
So between the two of you, you're going to get it done, right?
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for facilities?
Just clarification on fire monitoring on the east campus.
Yes, sir.
As I understand it, this is all electronic monitoring. We don't have anybody walking the property or anything. Are we prepared to do that if the fire danger gets high or something?
I don't know, if one of our guards walk over there and check it, but I don't know that it's necessary.
Everyone's to be alerted if there's any issues.
Any other questions?
How expensive is that monitoring about? Do you know?
I do not know.
Couple hundred a month, but it's not really expensive.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's the end of the facilities report. Are there any other questions? That's the end of that report. Next on the agenda, we don't have any old business. New business is fiduciary responsibility delegation charter and resolution 5550519, surplus equipment, and then candidate interviews for commissioners, and that will be in it. No, that won't be public. So on the new business, who wants to address number one, fiduciary? Yes.
I'd like to suggest that for the convenience of all present, that we move the new business item down at the bottom, so we can move on to public comment and the interviewing of the candidates. So we don't have to keep them here for that discussion. Fiduciary responsibility, delegation charter, etc. Could we move up the interviewing of the candidates?
If that's a motion, I would second for the convenience of the candidates.
Is there any other discussion about that? Let's all vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, okay, that's unanimous then. All right, do we have that? I may need help with
Okay.
that. So instead, we're going to have interviews from,
So
so we
we're-
have an,
Let me ask, just to clarify, we're moving it number 3 under new business for discussion to number 1, moving number 1 down to new business action items. Is that right? Because we have to discuss the fiduciary
Yes.
first before the approval down here.
that's correct. That is correct. So we're going to move that up.
We move up the candidate interviews, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. All right, does that make sense to everybody? All right. What is the procedure we do next? Yeah. Say that again. Yeah, what do we have to members do? We have 3 candidates. We have, you can put the number out, and we thought that would be the easiest way to do.
Who goes first?
Yeah. Who wants to go first? And we had some discussion on you guys. Give us some time to play. All right, we have questions.
Madam President, at least we ought to consider this idea. That is, while this is a public meeting, all
Yes.
the candidates can stay in this room. I think it would be perhaps within our discretion to ask the candidates to come in one at a time rather than have the ones sit here and get an advantage in hearing the questions, since they're all going to be asked the same questions. And would it be appropriate, Counselor, to ask the candidates to come in one at a time and under the circumstances?
It is an open public meeting. Everybody can stay here for the entire meeting at any time. They could acquiesce to your request, but you cannot preclude them from this.
Right.
I was aware of that.
Because
They
the
choose
last-
to step outside the room while the other candidates are speaking.
What-
They could choose to do so, but you cannot require that.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah, because the last interview process that this hospital handled was everybody was in the room. There were 15 of us there.
I remember.
So, and we didn't leave, nobody left.
Okay, that's
So I
fine,
think we'll
as
have
long
to
as
be
the
fair.
counselors or the
It's a public meeting.
are comfortable, because it does give an advantage to the subsequent
The
candidates.
individual mindset.
Thank you.
Did they do the rock, paper, scissors for the?
Right.
Or, so he's got the most points.
To let you know what's going on, what we have is candidate number 1, Joe Larson, candidate number 2, Jean Carter, and candidate number 3 is Judy Simon. And we all have resumes and we all have scorecards. Okay, now we've not done it like this before, so we will all. I'm gonna
This is
start
only
with it.
3 compared to 15 before.
That's true.
That's good.
So I know some of us talked about who was going to ask the questions. Do you want me to ask the questions, or do you want to take turns?
Go ahead.
We've decided to have one person only ask all of the questions, so as not to skew or bias in any way to any of the candidates, so.
And we voted on the board president.
It seems so. This disorganized person right now. I can score my own thing there too. Okay, the first question is, hi Joe, how are you doing?
Moving on.
Good. Okay. What are your personal motivations for joining this board of commissioners? And second part of that would be, what are your expectations for your experience if you are appointed?
My name is Joe Larson, for the record. I'm 7030 Fairway Avenue Southeast. I have a bit of history with the hospital district. It was my privilege to work on 2 separate projects. And in both cases, they turned out to mean a lot more to me than I had expected going in. It wouldn't be too dramatic to say I was in life-changing. For a year and a half, I worked on an illustration of the population health balance, and was commissioned to pay close attention to what is the nature of health of the individual level in a way that I never would have had ever in my usual consulting type projects. And along the way, I got to work with staff, to some extent with this board, extensively with lots of the organizations throughout the valley, which comprise the district. And this is all under the auspices of a provision within the Affordable Care Act, asking the hospital to provide some justification for its tax-exempt benefit. So anyway, you can imagine after several months of that, I would become personally attached to the people, the valley, the characteristics of population health, the unique vision of the district. When looking at the assets of the valley, we have a legacy as a lumber town on a variety of things, but one of the unique features that we produced as part of our legacy is this hospital district. And that we had the foresight or the civic capacity early on to gather together as a community and say, hey, let's raise a tax amongst ourselves to pay attention to what it means to be healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally. This struck me at a personal level. So that's primarily what drives me here is my passion for this district. The first project had to do with providing affordable access to primary care. And it was a great experience to discover how, at a local level, we can engineer and customize solutions to the problems that ail us. So we were able to take extra capacity within the primary care and divert it to assist people who had less access to care. Something that I don't know that we'd be able to accomplish at a typical private hospital or a larger network. And so that was, again, more experience to me personally to the hospital district. When I heard that the association with Overlake went south or sideways, I was disappointed because I feel like this is a beautiful facility that is to some extent underutilized. But with the branding and the experience that Overlake would bring to it, I think we could really begin to see to maximize those resources. And as a district, I think we're somewhat agnostic about who's providing the services, whether it's an outside service or moving it in-house, so to speak. Our main concern is that our communities being served. So I was excited to hear that we were again in merger talks. So there I felt like I could combine my professional experience with some of my passion. Because I do, as you look over my resume, you'll see a good deal of experience with business consulting, business management. I've dealt with mergers and acquisitions, dealt with numerous leases on both sides of leases, lots of facilities management. Versatility is probably my biggest strength. I've been blue collar, gray collar, white collar, and back and forth. I'm comfortable. What's that?
Tonight's your red collar.
Tonight's I'm red collar. But it's funny, I was literally raising funds for a startup company this morning. I'm driving a semi-truck in the afternoon and presenting for a board of commissioners meeting. And that's just been wonderful in my life to be able to work with these domains. And that's an experience I think I can help in the barracks. I listen to you guys, I can see the little silos of knowledge that you had acquired over the years. It's pretty considerable. That's just within the hospital framework. I think going forward, we're going to see a lot of that knowledge base replaced by other important areas that have to do with managing and administrating that relationship with Overlake with it successfully in the past. And then my hope is we can also begin to turn our attention to some of those elements of the population level. One of the odd discoveries in looking at and doing the community health assessment was that a lot of the 4 or 5 biggest mortality causes, obesity, cardiopulmonary disease, substance abuse, mental health. Most of those are very difficult to address at the hospital level. It's really more at the system level. So I think here we're sort of on the threshold of being able to shift a little bit as a board to divide our attention between managing hospital care while at the same time trying to address some of those more pernicious underlying areas in the health department. So anyway, it's a combination of the passion of that history and my professional experience that gives me the courage to say, hey, I think I genuinely need a service here.
And I'll let you know, you've got 4, so you all have 4 questions that you're going to have to answer.
Well, maybe I've answered, I won't repeat myself, but I've answered some of the other stuff.
I think he's answered like the first 3, and maybe we need to just focus on the 4th. Also, are we keeping track of the time so that the time given to each candidate is about the same?
I don't know that we addressed that.
We did not address that. We did
No,
not.
we didn't address that. And I don't know that we can implement that now.
I guess not, but at any rate, it seemed that he was so broad in his response that seemed to cover the first 3 items there, and leaving only the 4th item, which would.
I think if it goes into detail, we may be able to get out of there by 10 o'clock. So
I'll tell
the
you
broad
what-
is okay for now.
All right, what I would suggest is let everybody, the 3 that are here, all do the first one, okay, the first question. And then the remaining commissioners can pick the next question.
What is our scoring rate?
Pardon?
Is it 1,
What do you mean?
1 to
Okay.
5?
We have 4
Okay.
questions on here.
Okay,
Okay, I see it.
it's okay, we're fine.
I asked the first one, you each can ask one of the other 2 questions.
No, that's fine.
Oh, you're not going to ask all the questions?
Yes, we are, aren't we?
Yeah, no, let's have it.
Yeah, but I mean, you are going to ask each question of each candidate, right? Like we discussed before.
Oh, I'm going to ask, okay.
I'll be brief with my answers to questions 2 and 3.
Well, then with everybody else still gets some time with the other ones. All right, so I'll give you the 3 and I'll let you pick the one you want to do. Is that all right, board? Can I do that? All right.
Madam President, I just might suggest that you ask all the same questions, to all the
Yeah.
candidates,
All
in the
right.
same order
Right.
as written down here, so that there's consistency and predictability.
There you go.
Thank you
You're welcome.
for your,
And we
Legal
were,
counsel.
I think I heard that we could, if we had some clarification questions, we could ask a clarification question of the candidate.
yeah. So do you want to do all 4? Because if we do all 4, I'll start with number 2. Number 2 is, what is your number 2. What are your expectations for your experience if appointed?
That was asked as part of question number 1, Madam President.
1A, 1B.
You want to try number 2?
Yes, I am. Well, I've got 2 different sheets here. So I don't have,
What is your overall perception of the hospital district? What, if anything, look at that question.
yes, go ahead. District, what if anything would you do to change any aspect of this perception?
So can you
All right.
repeat the whole question?
What is your overall perception of the hospital district? What, if anything, would you do to change any aspect of this perception?
Well, I think by and large, for the majority of new residents arriving in the last 10 years, let's say, in Snoqualmie, which is probably 80% of the population, it's mostly out of sight, out of mind. And I'm optimistic that with more utilization, with the Lakes brand evening, we can change that.
Next question, and these all have an A/B, all of them. What will your unique contribution be, and how will this organization benefit from your participation?
I think versatility, and by that I mean familiarity and a certain level of comfort in dealing with anything from the facilities level to the management level to strategic levels. this relationship with Overlake, I think is going to be complex. And it's important that it be simple enough to keep both parties committed, but complex enough to be fair and mutually beneficial. I don't know enough about it as yet, to really have an opinion, but looking at the LOI, it's a very simple starting point. But the devil's in the details. You can get in the weeds pretty quick, and I think that's going to require a lot of attention. So that's what I can do about it.
And the last two questions are, what were some of the most interesting experiences you have had related to boards? And what have you learned from these experiences?
Well, I think I touched a little bit on that earlier in the first question. I have had some experience with this board, and this board has been kind of all over the map in relationship with executive staff, in good ways, and see it go through some high functioning and some low functioning phases. And I think little by little, it's increasingly effective. So boards are I was on a board of commissioners for the city of Snoqualmie, for the planning commission, and boards are funny animals to the executive staff. They can either be wonderful partners or kind of a nuisance. And it's very difficult to bring boards and executive staffs meeting. And I think I've been around them enough to kind of know where the pitfalls are. A lot of times the solution involves higher degrees of commitment from the board members, and board members are willing to give. I can speak that and share that as a planning commissioner who on more than one occasion came unprepared to a meeting and regretted not doing well by the staff. So I'm sensitive to the importance of being able to make contributions.
Can we ask follow-up questions for that?
Not unless you want to ask the same follow-up question to everybody, and I think then we're deviating from the plan.
For clarification and so forth. But if we've got to be lockstep and we can only ask the questions that are written out by staff, then that's fine.
Next,
That's very good questions. It's very applicable.
Jen.
Come on up.
Shall I? Okay.
On this sheet right here.
Yeah. Oh, on there. Yeah, just go.
Here it is.
Oh, here it is, right here. Got it. Okay. What are your personal motivations for joining the Board of Commissioners? There's a second question. There is a second question, but I think I gave them to Joe one after he answered one and went to the next one.
Okay.
Did I? She says I could. Dr. McCown said I did them both. So you get them both. What are your expectations for your experience in the appointment? So then I'll do them both again in order. What is your personal motivations for joining the Board of Commissioners, and what are your expectations of your experience in the appointment?
So, I am a baseball mom from the Ridge, and I have been searching for a place to serve my community. I'm a baseball mom from the Ridge that happens to have 19 years of healthcare information technology consulting experience. So as I, was kind of seeking the different elected offices and what's available, and it's filing coming up and all this business, the Board of Commissioners really jumped out at me, and I said, this is a place where I think I can contribute. As someone that has public service in her blood, I have a lot of cops and teachers and clergy in my family, and I found myself in this software consulting role, and that's not giving back to the community the way that I feel I need to. So I have to do it in a extracurricular way. Luckily, my day job is full-time telecommuting, so I have a lot of flexibility in how I spend my hours. So that would never be an issue, though I do have a full-time job right now. So I really am motivated just by wanting to serve and by being perhaps a new perspective, since I am newer to this community. But I also know that I represent a demographic that this hospital is looking to attract. I heard that a couple meetings ago. I started attending the meetings. I wanted to learn more about what this commission was really about, and I felt that this was a place that I would absolutely be able to contribute, both because of my own, personal motivations as a local resident and a local mom, but also as a professional that spent most of my career working in hospitals or with hospitals. So for what I would hope to get from this is I would really hope to be appointed, and then I would hope to file so that I could continue out the rest of the term in order to be effective. Having read the book on what makes an effective board, the stuff that was put out by the hospital association, I watched the training videos, I read the training books. Again, trying to always come prepared to anything I do. I always give 100% to everything that I do. And I really, really want to contribute in this way. It's the best way where I can take my professional expertise and my own little personal bit and just serve this gorgeous community that I'm pretty new to, but I'm so proud to be part of.
Okay. Next question. What is your overall perception of the hospital district? Wait. How do I do that? Yeah. What is your overall perception of the hospital district, and what, if anything, would you do to change any aspect of this perception?
Okay, so I can tell you, as someone that's new, that doesn't really know so much of the history, is that I feel that this is a rural hospital built for an underserved area that is no longer rural nor underserved. And so I'm excited about the affiliation because I feel that will give us some new branding and a new fresh shot of energy to attract my peers, the new moms with little kids that are looking for a place to base their care. Because most people that I talk to are going to Swedish. And that shouldn't be. We've got this place right here. And we've got the clinic right off Center Boulevard. And so there's no reason that we should all be piling into the car to go to Swedish for our care. That is what I'm most excited about with the affiliation. And the ability to change the perception that this is a rural, underserved Band-Aid for a community that doesn't need that.
Okay. Number three. What will your unique contribution be, and how will this organization benefit from your participation?
So what I do in healthcare software is I specialize in interoperability, which is getting different medical records to talk to each other. And during acquisitions, that's one of the most popular times that happens, right? You'll have two hospitals with completely different systems that talk to one another. So when you have two organizations and you need someone to help kind of translate that discussion, I've been doing that my entire career. So I feel that, having worked in hospitals my whole career, I work in technology as well, would be a unique contribution. and I forgot part B of the question, which I don't even know if I can ask again.
What, if anything, would you do to change any aspect of this perception?
Nope.
No? Oh, organization. How will, see, I lost my way too.
Freebie.
How will this organization benefit from your participation?
Okay. Like I said, I will always come prepared and very eager to join one of the committees, probably whichever one handles technology, whether that's facilities, I would say maybe. Maybe. And if there's not a good fit, then let's find a good fit, because I want to work.
All right. Next set are, what are some of the most interesting experiences you've had related to boards?
Okay.
And what have you learned from those experiences?
Okay. So I only have two. The very, very start of my career, when I was a college student, I worked in the administrative offices of a bunch of hotshot doctors at the University of Chicago Department of Medicine. And I was, I helped them work on grants, and I did photocopies, just administrative stuff as for work study as an undergrad. And we were terrified of the board. And we were terrified of board meetings, and we were terrified of the MDs that we worked for that had to appear before the board that week. And it was awful. And that's the only experience I ever had with boards before I sat in that chair 3-4 months ago. And I saw how different it can be. Because what I see in this board is I see a board that works together, that's communicative and respectful, that asks thoughtful questions to keep everyone honest and keep everyone thinking, and that has a really healthy relationship with the hospital administration. And so these are two vastly different experiences, and I really hope to contribute to this really healthy board that I'm standing for today. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Simon.
Hi, Jim. How are you tonight? All right, you've heard the questions twice. Now you get your turn. What are your personal motivations for joining this Board of Commissioners, and what are your expectations for your experience if appointed?
My expectations are to work with the board to continue the growth that they've developed in the past couple of years. I'm a lifelong resident of Snoqualmie Falls and Snoqualmie, and the district has a long history of problems, and that bump is still in the road in regards to the public, which I think with all the competition is a detriment that's going to have to be addressed with healthcare reform, unknown healthcare reform, the status of critical area hospitals, and improving service areas that are not on the strong side. And I would hope to benefit personally to continue my senior growth. I'm a retiree of group health cooperative, now known as Kaiser Permanente. And I was a corpsman in the Navy and served in the emergency department for my entire career at Group Health, 37 years. And I just want to bring some positive energy to add and contribute to the positive energy that I've seen just in the last year or two compared to the long-standing history of a lot of negativity.
Second set of questions. What is your overall perception of the hospital district? And what, if anything, would you do to change any aspect of this perception?
I have a little trouble.
All right, say it a little louder, that's all right. What is your overall perception of the hospital district? And what, if anything, would you do to change any aspect of this perception?
Well, unfortunately, the perception is that the old baggage that just went on for years and years and years, and the expansive growth of the primary service area, we need to bring it home to roost. And I think the existing board has brought a lot of energy to start correcting course, and it's going to be a tincture of time issue, but it has to be on the fast track. And I think that my perception of the old with the new is been very beneficial to the district and the employees and the general service area of Falls Lake North and Snoqualmie.
Next, number 3. You ready for number 3? What will your unique contribution be, and how will this organization benefit from your participation?
I would like to bring my frontline experience and school of hard knocks, which is something that you cannot get a degree from at any university as far as I know. And the Department of Common Sense needs to be part of the debate issues that are facing the hospital district, especially with, like I said, the unknown healthcare reform and the movement of critical access hospitals compared to overlay or Swedish is putting a lot of pressure on the district that, like I said, turning the corner and getting things on fast track. And what was the second?
The second part was what, for number 3, okay. What, how will this organization benefit from your participation?
Well, I think the hospital district will benefit from my compassion for patient advocacy and the strong position that I hold on many fronts, clinical, non-clinical, that is something beneficial to the district that personally I haven't seen in all my years here. So it's a challenge to emphasize and work collaboratively and to work smoothly with the executive management team and employees A to Z, and top to bottom and bottom to top.
Okay, that's all the questions. Oh, wait, no, I got one last one more. One more, I found it.
Keep her honest.
What have you learned from these experiences?
Oh, goodness. I think what I've learned personally the most is to not panic. And I've been on all sides of the fence on this healthcare system. And the ability to have empathy for our seniors, and to, particularly with folks who have a lot of serious medical issues and don't have an advocate, so to speak, to get through the red tape of healthcare today as we see it. And I think we don't know what's in front of us, but we need to think outside of the box in terms of kind of having a backup plan B in regards to D, all the above. And it I'm a little emotional right now because my wife recently passed away, so please forgive me. But I think I guess one of the best examples that I can cite from personal experience is when my father-in-law, who was 88, was home alone and had fallen and broke his hip and his femur. And they were not able to do emergency surgery because he had a tremendous blood loss. But anyway, Med One did their thing and backward and all of that. And we get to the clinical setting at Overlake, and he's coming back, and I need Med One to Overlake. Of course, I had some advantage, but he came back from X-ray, and the nurse said that the doctor said it was okay to take him off of the back cord, and proceeded to, by herself, grab the backboard and dump it. And it pulled out his IV, and he had a hematoma the size of a baseball. And her response was, excuse me, OF. And that has stuck with me. My folks had cancer. So my nephew died of SIDS. I have a nephew who committed suicide. My interest in bringing to the district and this board and the executive team is to blend all of that together, because it is a major element of how this system should work from that perspective.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comments? Hearing none, I believe. We don't need Yes. Yes. Sorry. I believe we're going to go into an executive session right now, and I need to tell you exactly how long, and I don't know. Oh, something to say for it? I don't know what that means. Here we go. Okay. I have to do this all in order. According to RCW 42.30.110, the Board of Commissioners of Public Hospital District Number 4, King County, is authorized to go into executive session to review the qualifications of a candidate for the appointment as a district commissioner. Pursuant to this authority, the board will now go into executive session to review this issue. It is anticipated that the executive session will be concluded in approximately 15 minutes, and no final action will be taken during the executive session. So I'd like to excuse you all for the time being. Oh.
That's easier for us to read.
Is it over right here?
Yes, it's whatever you want, but we have over here.
We have it set up.
Oh, or, okay, you want us to leave it then? We're ready for us to, yeah. Okay.
We're gonna leave.
You can stay and we will leave.
Madam President,
Yes, Commissioner Pollard.
is the expectation that we will announce
I call to order, we reconvene the Hospital District Number 14 County Hospital District meeting, and it is 8:49 after an executive session. We are now, I now would like to take a motion for someone to
Madam President. Madam President.
I would like to say something that before, all of these candidates that came today were equal.
Yeah.
I mean, they were well qualified.
That's why we
And
took so long, folks. We
it
really had a
was-
difficult time.
It is, I'm just going to say this right out front. I scored everybody about equal. Remember, they did different capacities, different strengths, and so.
Okay, I move the appointment, let's go. And I'd like to,
Oh, Commissioner Pollard,
Wasn't I?
you have the floor.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Spikers. I was very impressed with all three candidates. And I hope that regardless, that all three candidates, or the two unsuccessful at this particular appointment, will involve themselves in the hospital district somehow, volunteer, perhaps be appointed to one of the committees, which we can do. We can bring in the public to our committees. So I think that all three people are just terrific. And that's what made it, that's why I had to keep getting extensions of our discussion back there. This was not a simple process. But I do have a nomination. Is that a motion?
I want to make a comment as well.
Oh, I see other comments.
Yeah, we're making comments.
Yeah.
Again, it was a very difficult selection process because all three of you brings very unique characteristics, personalities, experience. So it was tough, you know. Again, both Commissioner Spikers and Commissioner Pollard did, you know, what they felt would be the best. That if one of you is appointed or the other two isn't, please, you know, with your passion, continue your involvement in the community, in the hospital, and you know, there's always that room to get elected. There is election that's coming up, so it's something. Don't be disappointed if you don't get appointed. That's what happened to me. I didn't get disappointed. I was never appointed until I ran. So you never know, you know. So it is that commitment, that passion, not only in our community here, but it has to be more vast community connections. That's very important. And I think, you know, all of you have brought many different skills and expertise, so it's very tough for us, maybe, you know, that's what took us a long time to decide, or no, we did not decide to really come up back here because we're keep moving the process here.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome. The chair recognizes that Commissioner Spikers wants to make a motion.
Oh, I thought I was the first one.
Okay, Commissioner Pollard, you may make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, and this was not at all what I thought I would be making a motion about tonight. But the way I see it is we're essentially recreating the hospital district with this new affiliation with Overlake. And I've had others agree that this is essentially recreating the hospital district. And I think as we move forward with that concept, what we need is someone who can be part of that new growth and perhaps someone with objectivity that is not in any way affected by old history. And so, to go right to the point, I would like to move that we appoint Jan Carter, and primarily because of her passion, her ability to communicate verbally, and her superb resume. I think she would be a tremendous asset to the district, as would the other candidates. They're all good, but she has unique passion that could come in and revitalize as we transition to a whole new hospital district. That's my nomination, and I move accordingly.
Do I hear a second?
I would second.
Is there any further discussion? Then we will move to a vote. All those in favor of Jan? Is that right? I said Jan. Jan, okay. All those in favor of appointing Jan into the MDC by Joan Young, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did it?
Pardon?
Oppose me. Nay.
All right, the ayes have it, so Jen, you are going to be our new commissioner. And I hope you understand that it's a short term, and starting Monday, soon, it's time to file.
It's time to what?
File.
Yes, yes.
So if you want to say.
You've got
And,
one week to file.
and that doesn't mean the other two can't either. So I
And, yeah,
suggest that.
and guys, there are 2 positions open, so you can file next week if you like.
Okay, now we voted, and moving on to public, where are we, old business? New business, right down. We have fiduciary responsibility delegation charter and a resolution number 5550519, surplus equipment to be taken care of. Do I hear a motion that we declare both the resolution and the fiduciary responsibility?
What, I'm sorry, maybe my hearing is.
Fiduciary.
Oh, surplus equipment
Yes,
resolution?
that's
Yes.
one, and the other one is the delegation charter.
Now, I don't know what that is.
I'll just
I can tell you.
explain.
Well, you can tell.
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Yeah, I got it.
It's a couple-page thing. I never say housekeeping, but in this case, it is a housekeeping measure. That basically makes sure, if you look at it, I don't know if I can grab that here. It just lays out the fiduciary responsibilities of the delegate.
Well, it's
So-
kind of legalese, that's why.
It is, I'm sure our council has looked at it, and if there was something wrong with it, I would probably know that he'd probably say something about it.
Quite simply, it's your Employee Retirement Income Security Act. It's called the ERISA. You must have a fiduciary obligation, and you must have a resolution and delegation charter that implements that, creates the committee, and identifies your duties and responsibilities. That's what this does. It protects your employees' retirement accounts.
Is this also a recommendation of the chief financial officer?
Yes, it is. And it's best practice within the industry, and you're delegating the fiduciary functions to the committee, the retirement committee, which is composed of chief executive officer, chief financial officer, and human resource.
Thank you, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go for, well, are we going to do one together separate? I guess we're doing it separate. All those in favor say
Now,
aye.
the one we're voting on right now is the surplus or this one?
It's the fiduciary.
Pardon me?
The fiduciary that you were just asking.
Fiduciary?
Yes.
Fiduciary
Yeah,
Fiduciary responsibility,
charter.
all right,
responsibility delegation.
call the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next, we have resolution number 550519 for surplus equipment.
I move approval of the resolution, please.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion?
What resolution number?
This is 550519, and it has to do with our surplus equipment.
We have to state that. I didn't get that. You did state it. Thank you.
So motion, we got a motion on table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, okay. And then we already did the candidate interviews, so we'll move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment? Going once, going twice, okay. Executive session, we already did that. New business, and we already did that. And now we have a good of the order commissioner comment. Each commissioner shall have one comment, period, limited to 3 minutes. Does anybody have any comments that they feel necessary to address tonight?
I have a comment. I asked when we were, that I would like to make the first motion, but then you looked at Commissioner Pollard and called up upon him. So that's my comment. I don't know if there's some inner workings going on, because I said I moved to make an appointment. Anyway, that's my comment.
That's
I
not
just
something
wanted
that
to
should
make
be agreed
sure.
to in the back room.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't agreed to in the back room.
Was there? Was there?
No, there was no
It was-
agreement.
Yeah, but
And
I did volunteer to say, because nobody was ready. We
Well,
were
I
all-
waited and asked the question, and we got an
Which
answer.
I did, and then you stopped because you wanted more. Anyway, that's just my comment.
I think we did it for what we needed to do.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
you allowed individuals to make comments, and then you recognized an individual to make a motion. Whether Commissioner Herron also wanted to make a motion or not, she was not recognized first.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pollard was recognized first, so that's perfectly proper. She could
I made
have
that-
requested a point of order saying, I need to make a motion.
And you
But-
stopped me.
No, I didn't stop you from hearing. I didn't hear you say point of order.
Because I said I moved to, because that's what we were going to go ahead, and we didn't discuss about having these comments first. But anyway, I made that first call to make a motion, so never mind.
Well,
But that's-
again, Madam President recognized Commissioner Pollard on the motion. You have to be recognized to make the motion. Commissioner Herron was not recognized.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. And I just feel like we have to practice fair and equitable here.
That was
Okay.
not meant to be unfair.
Okay.
It wasn't meant to be.
Anyway, that's my comment. Okay, let's not,
Unequitable.
yeah,
Point
let's
of
move
order.
on.
Yes, Commissioner
I
Pollard.
believe you were moving on to the 3-minute opportunity.
I'm done.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
is that your 3-minute opportunity?
That's my 3-minute opportunity.
Okay, anybody else have a 3-minute
Express my
opportunity?
comments.
David, do you want to say something first?
I thank Jim for coming out. Jim has served on the Finance Committee and volunteered for quite some time and helped me. I asked him to come out. I actually asked him to apply for a board position. I encourage you to, if you want to come back out and help us out again on the Finance Committee, I'd be very, very welcome to have you there again. As always, I've always respected your views and your information that you gave me and helped me on the Finance Committee. So again, thank you.
And as the other member of the Finance Committee, I did owe that. You were always, you saw things that sometimes we just didn't see, and we really appreciate you. Any other comments?
I'd just like to say that I was impressed with the way the board worked together in this difficult situation. This was a difficult agenda all the way around, and I thought we did darn well. So I just want to thank my fellow commissioners and the president of the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Pollard. I think we all did a very good job, and I think it was a tough time. Let's, because we had all very good candidates. Let's move on to, we did good in the order. Next meeting will be the affiliation work study, Thursday, June 13th, 2019, 4:30 to 6 o'clock in the East-West Conference Room. Our regular meeting is Thursday, June 13th, 2019, 6:30 North-South Conference Room. And then our work study Wednesday, May 29th, which is the closest one, 2019. And that's rescheduled from May 22nd. So make sure you've got that down, and that's at 6:30 in the North-South Conference Room. Do I hear a motion for an adjournment?
I need a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Then we are adjourned.
Madam President.